Oh, I think they're very human stories, which is part of what makes it so attractive. They deal with family and familiarity that we all have in our families, and our safe places. And I think when your safest place is jeopardized, it's very fearful. It makes you very fearful in your real life and in your fantasy life as well. So I think that's part of the success, as well as they're well produced, directed, written, and acted.
It's very rare that an actor gets to go backwards for their very own origin story. You get to do that here. So how do you put aside or utilize the Elise we've all come to know with where Elise starts and how she turns into this kick-ass action hero?
Well, I have to thank Leigh Whannell primarily for all of that. He, of course, originated the character to begin with, and as an actor, I always try and fill in my history. When you start in the middle of your life, you have to sort of build the character from the beginning for yourself, which we did. I did some of it with Leigh and Angus when we started working on the first one. We got together to figure out where we had met, what our relationships were to each other. But I never dreamed of the soulful, it's very emotional for me actually, this very soulful woman that Leigh constructed for this origin story. And when I read it, I even went deeper with it. We talked about that a little bit, about making her even more of in a depressed place, and this kind of agoraphobia that had taken over her life, which I think is a secret a lot of people hold inside that we don't discuss, because you could be agoraphobic in a lot of different ways. And Elise kind of exemplifies that physically, trying to get out of the depression she's in. So the origin that he wrote for me gave me a lot of places to go, and then of course turning me into this beautifully brutal hero, really, I mean a real heroine, was just such a treat for me. The curve of the character is brilliant, and was the most fun I've ever had acting a role, for real.
I hope William Friedman doesn't mind me talking this much about it. Well, I basically, yeah.
You would laugh.
I sent him a message, actually on Twitter, and said, hey, any advice for a first-time director? Thinking that he would just tweet me back, maybe, and say, like, make your days. Instead, he was like, oh, let's have lunch. And so I was like, awesome. And it was actually really an amazing afternoon, because I'm such a fan of his that I couldn't believe I was sitting there across from him listening to his stories. So I was kind of like fanning out a little bit, geeking out, probably not saying as much as I normally do, but he's a real raconteur and he's got great stories. So he was just telling me stories about The Exorcist, and not so much even giving me advice, but kind of illustrating what he had done. And one of the things he said is, when he was making The Exorcist, is he really wanted his actors to be afraid for real. He didn't want them to be faking fear when they could be really afraid. So he'd be constantly...
Lucky me.
Yeah, exactly. He's constantly surprising them. At one stage he said, if you ever see anybody jump in The Exorcist, that's because I was just off screen firing a gun. And so I suddenly got it in my head, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do exactly what William Friedkin did. And couldn't quite get access to a gun, funnily enough. But a couple of times I used an air horn. But actually scaring them in the middle of a take doesn't always work. But I did found it was pretty effective to kind of push them into a certain headspace, especially with Steph. She was the main victim of all that stuff. But I think it's helpful. I mean, if I was an actor and the director was like, right, I'm going to lock you away in this closet for a while and keep you separated from everyone, I'd probably enjoy it, because you're always looking for that kind of interactivity to make it real. So yeah, that was my way of saying to Steph, you really enjoyed it, didn't you?
He scared me a lot, actually. I think even if he wasn't scaring me, he scared me to the point where I was always scared that I was about to get scared. So, I think overall it probably helped a lot. He did a lot of air horn and, locked me in a closet with death metal while I was immobile in a wheelchair, tied down with a neck brace, stuff like that. And but I think a lot that he did that was really cool was using pieces of music throughout the scene, because music has such a ability to move you. And so sometimes a more emotional scene, there's certain pieces of music that
think it was a bit rough of me to keep doing it after the film had finished shooting. Locked him in a closet and make him listen to Norwegian death metal. I remember like...
You probably should not start saying something like that. It's a little scary.
I never got locked into a closet, so I really
got it made.
fast. No, it's just wonderful because he just knows the story, just like the script, everything.
Yeah.
He knows your character better than anyone else, and you just strive to know your character just as much as he does. And I think he did an incredible job, and I think the Insidious fans are going to be really happy this weekend. That's the Ghost Hunter. That was, it's very different. I'm not a ghost hunter in this film, but it was cool to do a horror film. I've never shot one before, and I thought if I, acted in one, I would be less scared, but I'm just as scared. Every time we watch it, I'm still just as frightened, so it's been really lots of fun.
It was definitely retroactive writing. Like, a lot of people will say to me, oh, that second film must have been planned out because it locked into the first one so well, but we really had to just reverse engineer it. The trick is to make it look like you planned it all along, but pretty much everything is always me reverse engineering everything to kind of fit together, which is tough. Sometimes you can write yourself into a corner and be like, oh man, I can't do that because I've already explained this. But I think we did a good job with this one with kind of inserting like Easter eggs and little treats for the fans of the first two films that make sense and kind of follow through.
Could you experience it? Like looking at
Oh
your
my God. I had honestly, I thought, oh, okay, there's little steps, I'll walk up the steps. Can I say a bad word here? I went, oh shit. I walked in. The first thing, I'm very sound sensitive, I guess. And I think that I was so assaulted by the sound. First of all, when you come in, if you know, the woman, there's a woman there who tells you what you're going to be doing and what to expect. I forgot everything. I got to the end of the hallway, and there was that rattling door, and I thought, I got to get through this door.
You actually spent the entire experience in the bathroom. Didn't you actually?
I did, but I must have spent 5 minutes trying to open that door, and then I remembered her saying something about I was supposed to turn left, turn right, and go to the other door. So I just got so confused and so upset, and then when I started talking to myself, that was the end. I just totally lost it.
The funniest thing was, I have to say, we were standing outside the truck, the 4D truck, and Jason and Stefano were all standing out the front, and somebody says, oh, Lynn's in there right now. And you could sort of hear this muffled like, and so we're standing there, and then all of a sudden the door opens, and Lynn comes out just like crying. And I don't mean like a couple of tears. I mean like pure dancer in the dark, like she's sobbing.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, it was a very intense experience.
The lesson is you cannot put Lin Shaye in an experience like that. It is too intense.
Great privilege to make a film with anybody, to do it with people that you love and admire, and you're able to call your friend is heaven sent. So this is the third time that Jason, Leigh, and Lynn, and James, and I have got the band back together, and it's you're very thankful to make a film anytime. So look, I'm thrilled for Leigh because. He created this world. It's his world. And the thing, if there's any sort of cynicism about people that sort of think, oh, they're just, it's just a franchise film thing. There's the evidence, even with Saw, these guys, they kill off their heroes with no expectation to come back again. And it's totally driven by you guys and the audience. And so, for us to be able to welcome Dermot, Hayley, Stephanie, into this world again, it's not a no one's going, oh, let's do another 15 of these. It's totally like up to Leigh, up to James, up to Jason. They put it out there, they push the boat out there and see where it sails to. So for me, I'm always thankful to get a call to come and play on the deck, so to speak, with Lynn, who I was, having watched the film and having read all this stuff about feminism in Mad Max and what have you. I'm so thrilled. The hero of this film is a woman, is a lady.
An old woman.
Well, I don't know. Is an emotional woman who's sound sensitive. A sound sensitive elderly lady. So it's incredible to see these ostensibly 3 generations of great women in this film. Of Stephanie, her mother, and of course Lin's character as well, Liz. And not to forget Hayley's wonderfully charismatic contribution. And so for us, we just want to have the audience have a great time. You know, there's no. I don't think what Leigh does. You hear him now. He's such a fan. Jason and James, the 3 of them are such fans. And we've got the Queen of Horror finally getting her recognition as the lead role in this film. It's for me, it's like the best seat in the house. Forget the 4D experience. Come and see Insidious Chapter 3.
You guys wait a lot between takes just because you can't reset.
Yeah, I was pretty jacked up. Like, I got really good at figuring out how to walk in full like cast. I think I like bent them a bit, but like it was a very disgusting looking walk. But I figured it out, and I could like at least walk to the bathroom.
I did feel sorry for you when you had all the makeup on.
I could not
really see anything.
I was completely blinded, and like people would have to like guide me around. And I was like soaking wet head to toe, and like show me to a chair. And like most people were like, oh, you know, sympathetic, like let's help you get around. And he would just like come out of nowhere, just like.
Oh, that was fun.
Where like I couldn't see him, and then I didn't know where he was. And then he would scream in my ear just to terrify me.
We definitely tortured Stephanie on this film.
It was a really rough summer.
See this movie, Stephanie was tortured. But she was a fun
It was
kind of
fun.
torture, wasn't
I had
it,
a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Leigh Whannell's amazing. What a charming, charismatic guy. Fabulous director. He's great.
You gonna finish there?
And he's handsome, and he's kind, and he's so talented. He should win every Oscar.
What else? What else?
And screaming.
My question
It's great to keeping a horror franchise going is Leigh Whannell. And 80s remake.
No, in all seriousness, I want to know the secret.
Keeping the horror franchise going is. I think this with all the franchises that we have is that I work much harder, I think, than is usual. We try and do everything we can, even if it means giving up a lot of ownership of the movie, financially and otherwise, to keep the creators involved through the process. So James DeMonico is doing all the purges, and Leigh and James do all the Insidious movies, and Scott Derrickson is involved with Sinister going through, and I think Hollywood tends to forget who started these great stories, and I think that our company, we really work hard to keep those people engaged and included. And I think, it's working hard makes it sound harder than it is, but a lot of it is giving them the freedom to do what they want to do. So that's the serious answer, Leigh, for you. What was I saying? Oh, a remake. What should we do? What do you think?
What about? I always thought The Hidden needed.
Yes.
The Hidden.
I'm in
With Lin Shaye.
I'm in that.
Yeah, Lin's in The Hidden.
Leigh, do you want to do it?
Sure.
We're done.
Okay, great, excellent.
Just,
All right.
just a suggestion, Monster Squad.
You think? Monster Squad?
Yeah, look, Universal Monsters versus the Goonies.
What about? I always thought Scanners would be a good remake, but maybe that's sacrilege to remake it.
I don't know. Maybe a little more time.
For Stephanie?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a mixture of like Burzum and all this stuff, like all the like Wattain's one of my favorites. They're actually Swedish.
Yeah.
I actually saw them. Joe Bashara, who's done the music to all the Insidious films, and did the music for this one, which I can talk about later because I'm really happy with the score Joe did for this film. We talked a lot about what we wanted, and we wanted to do something that was different to the other two films, and so it's almost a metal influenced score. We got Dave Lombardo, the original drummer from Slayer, to come in and play drums on on the soundtrack, which that was awesome that day, going up to the studio and seeing him in the studio and kind of like geeking out over that. And I really like what he ended up doing. It's almost a weird black metal soundtrack for this one in a way, but Joe's like my metal friend. He took me to see Watain at like the Whiskey in Los Angeles, which was hilarious because they're like these Swedish guys. So they're between songs, they're like, "Hello, the City of Angels, huh? But maybe we can fix that with this next one. It's called Devil's Blood." Then they had peach blood all over the stage and these burning crosses. They're the most insane band. And so he takes me along to see these bands, and then Stephanie was the unfortunate recipient of their playlist. This assaulting music.
It was just really loud on his like Beats headphones, and I just couldn't move. And then it was just like in his room, and he had like a PA at the door guarding it. Do random sound checks to make sure I didn't turn.
Yeah, I didn't want her switching it over to Katy Perry or something. I was like, I need to make sure she was still listening to it.
Yeah, I was terrified of him that day.
Yeah, I wasn't even letting her listen to like Metallica, where it's like, well, this one's got a beat to it. It was aggressively anti-music. It was that Norwegian stuff where they just strum one note for 18 minutes.
Yeah, it was.
It sounds like a broken television with someone going over the top.
Yeah, I was slightly emotionally scarred for the rest of the day.
It was good. But yeah, the actual score for the film that Joe did, I love it. Yeah.